This program is made possible in part by Doral Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, proud supporters of this PBS special. Doral Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, where entrepreneurial spirit is supported every day.
Financial expert, educator, and author David Bach has helped millions around the world achieve their financial dreams. Regularly featured on television, radio, newspapers, and magazines, he has authored 7 consecutive national bestsellers, including The Automatic Millionaire, which has spent 3 years on the New York Times bestseller lists and was BusinessWeek's #1 business book of 2004. In recent years, with an unpredictable stock market, real estate swings, and 401ks, Social Security, and pension plans in jeopardy, the American dream has become harder and harder to achieve. With nearly 60 million Americans with nothing in savings, how does one achieve financial freedom and security? The answer lies in simplifying the complex world of money and creating wealth automatically. Here's David Bach with his approach to becoming an automatic millionaire.
Wow! Thank you! Thank you! What a good audience! This feels like a room that wants to finish rich. Let me see a show of hands. How many of you, tell the truth now, we're all going to get to know each other. How many of you would like to have $1 million? You'd like to be millionaires? Woo! Okay then, now here's my next question. Let me see the ones that are really ambitious. How many of you want to be multi-millionaires? Oh! All right, well, you've come to the right place. This show is called The Automatic Millionaire. And let me start by telling you this. You're not alone. In fact, becoming a millionaire right now in this country is truly the American dream. Have you noticed that? Recently, I want to show you this article. It's so interesting. I'm opening up USA Today. Cover of USA Today says, just about everybody in America wants to be a millionaire. $1 million. Now that we've got your attention, what's the big deal about this number? I was kind of excited because they had a cover of the Automatic Millionaire book here. And they talked about the fact that millions of us are going out and we're really looking for more financial education on how to become wealthier. And we're buying books, we're taking classes, millions of people did this last year, and we're learning more about money. And there's good news. Everybody always talks about the bad news. You know, people are getting poorer in America. Can I tell you the good news? Yeah? Guess what? Last year, according to this article, there were 2.7 million people in America that are millionaires. Almost $3 million. This is according to a new Merrill Lynch wealth survey. That's the good news. That's a lot of people, right? 3 million people across America becoming millionaires. Yeah. So the club is getting bigger. That's the good news. The rich are getting richer too, by the way. What's the bad news? 2005, we had record bankruptcies. 2 million people went bankrupt last year. That's not good. What's happening, though, to the middle class? Let's talk about the average American. The average American right now in this country, unfortunately, truthfully, is going poor. 70% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. How many of you know somebody who's living paycheck to paycheck? Maybe personally, right? Do you know these people? Okay, and then we have credit card debt, right? The average American family has about $10,000 right now in credit card debt. It's a lot, isn't it? You know, I've been working on a show lately with Oprah called the Debt Diet Series. And this whole year has been spent trying to help America get out of debt because we're seeing families that have 20, 30, 40,000, even more in credit card debt. So what's happening is the rich are getting richer, more people are joining the millionaire club, but the American middle class is going broke. And what I want to do today is help you do a handful of things. One, get out of debt. So if you've got debt, we need to look at how do you get out? How do you turn the table on the credit card companies? 2, how to finally stop living paycheck to paycheck. And 3, how do you become what I call an automatic millionaire? Now, this show is not a get-rich-quick show, right? I've been teaching people around the country now for years on how to become financially secure. The way I learned how to do this, the way I learned how to write this book, I'm not a journalist. The truth is that I've spent almost my entire life working with real millionaires. I spent 9 years at Morgan Stanley. I was a senior vice president, but I worked with average Americans, real people, everything from teacher to truck drivers to garbage men to, mid-level corporate people that took the money they were making, not a lot, maybe they were making $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year, but they turned their real money into millions. And so after 9 years of doing this, I learned there's a secret to getting rich. There is a secret to getting rich. There's a secret that real people who become real millionaires know. And that's what I want to share with you today. Can I do that? Do I have your permission? Yes? All right. In this book, I tell a story about Jim and Sue McIntyre. They're one of my real millionaires, okay? They came into my office after coming to a class, and they said, David, you know what? I want to retire. I said, great. They said, we want to retire on Friday. It was Tuesday. I said, Jim, how old are you? He said, well, I'm 52. Well, okay, come on into my office. Let's take a look at your situation. Their story changed my life, and that's why I want to start by sharing it with you, and that's why this book is based on their story. They came into my office at 52 years old, average income, guys, $35,000 a year. It's not a lot of money, right? I mean, honestly, it's not. It's not millionaire money, but they took that $35,000 a year over their lifetime, and by doing a handful of things, they bought 2 homes. One they paid off completely, free and clear. They had a renter in it. They were living off that rental income. They also had another home they lived in. They paid that off. And they came into my office with over $1 million in savings, right? And I did what you just did. I looked at them and I said, how in the world did you do this? Now, this is what killed me. They said, David, we just did everything you talk about in your classes. I said, no, really, how did you do it? They said, well, we really did. You talked about paying yourself first and saving money and paying down that debt and buying real estate. They said, we did that. But you gave a couple ideas that don't work. I went, whoa, what did I say that doesn't work? Tell me, I want to know. They said, you talked about budgeting. Forget that. Stop telling people to budget because it doesn't work. I said, why doesn't it work? They said, well, we tried it. We got married and we tried budgeting. You're not married yet, David. You have no clue. When you get married, trying to do a budget is a nightmare. Have any of you experienced this? Yeah, because the problem with budgets, first of all, they take time, they require discipline, and the truth is there's only 2 types of people born in this country. One that likes to budget and one that likes to spend, right? And they almost always hook up, right? You thought that was sexual chemistry? No, you just found your financial opposite. So what Jim and Sue told me was we threw the budget out. We threw out discipline. You told everybody that they should use discipline. We're not disciplined people. What we did, David, was this. We put our financial life on autopilot. We made all of our savings automatic so that we didn't need a budget. We didn't need discipline. We saved automatically. We paid ourselves first automatically, and we bought real estate. And those handful of things have made us rich. And they said, you know what? It's not a big deal. They lived in San Leandro, California. They said most of our friends are going to retire in their 50s. Just like us. Now, when I met them, I was in my mid-20s. And even though I was the financial advisor, I was making 3 times what they were. And truthfully, I was living paycheck to paycheck. Because as I was making more money, guess what? I was spending more money. Can you relate to this? I went back to my office, because I was a little depressed at this point, truthfully. And I said, enough's enough, David. You've got to change your plan. You know, you got the chance to learn from millionaires. Do what millionaires do. And I did it. I put the same plan in place. It took me less than an hour. It's going to take you less than an hour, okay? With that plan, by the time I reached my mid-30s, I was a self-made millionaire. Now, I don't tell you that, by the way, to impress you with what I did, but because I don't know if you can do it in 10 years. What I know is that you can build financial security over your lifetime if you put this same plan in place. So with that, I want to start by sharing the rules with you that they taught me, all right? Rule number 1, when you make money, you got to keep some of it. Obvious stuff, right? When you make money, you got to keep some of it. But you know what people say? They say, well, guess what? The rich get richer because they get their money to work for them, and the poor stay poor because they work for money. Have you ever heard that? Sounds good, right? But you know what the truth is? Sure, once you have $1 million, that money gets to work for you. But in the beginning, you have to work to get your money. There's 2 things you should know about money that are the truth. 1, when you make some, you have to keep some. And 2, if you make more, you still have to keep some. Does this make sense? So the first thing I'm going to teach you right now is how to find your money, because you all have some. And I want to talk to you right now about what I call the latte factor. How many of you have heard of this idea of the latte factor? Let me see a show of hands. You have? Good. Okay. I've talked about this all over on every single show there is. It's been in all the media. I've been talking about it for 10 years. What's the latte factor? The latte factor is the simple idea that we have the money. We're just wasting it on small things, little things, like literally getting up in the morning and stopping by Starbucks and getting ourselves a latte. If you stop at our favorite local coffee shop, and I'm not trying to pick on Starbucks, I love them. I go there sometimes myself. One of these days I'll end up on the National Enquirer. David Bach drinks lattes. It's true. Okay? But I'm going to use it as an example. This little latte and this muffin, what are we looking at here? I live in New York City now. It's $16.75. No, I'm kidding. It's not that bad. Okay? It could be, but let's just use $5 nationally. A little latte and a muffin, $5. We got brown water and some flour. We're at $5. All right? Now, maybe it's not the lattes. Maybe it's bottled water. How many of you remember, by the way, where water used to come from? Do you remember this? When you go home today, you'll be amazed. Where's the water? In the faucet, right? It's still there. It's a $7 billion a year industry just in the U.S. Okay? It could be, gosh forbid, cigarettes, right? Some people have a $5 a day habit, $5 a day. It could be magazines at the grocery store or a cable box. Why do I have the cable box here? Because how many of you have cable television right now? Show your hands. Tell the truth. All right, 200 channels of nothing, right? What do you need cable for when you can watch public TV? All right? Cable television, these boxes with your 200 channels of nothing on, it's running about $80 a month. Right now you could get a basic package and you could literally spend $19.95. And just that would save you $60 a month. So you got to find your latte factor. Does this make sense? Now, I want to show you how to find your latte factor. In the Automatic Millionaire book, there's a little worksheet, all right? It's found on page 50 and 51. And this little worksheet, I call it the Latte Factor Challenge. And what you do for one day is you track where the money goes. So starting tomorrow, you'll take this little sheet, you'll write down every day where the money goes. Now, on some of the other shows I've done, I've told people to track it for 5 days. And today we had somebody who's in our audience, Tracy, leading up to this PBS show, take the Latte Factor Challenge for 5 days. Why do I want you to do this? So you'll see where your money's really going. Not because I want you to budget, because budgets don't work. I just want you to find your money. So let's talk to Tracy for a second. Tracy, you went out and you did this, right?
Yes, I did.
5 days. Tracy is a wonderful woman, 37 years old. She's from Los Angeles, California. She's an entrepreneur. She has her own internet company. And she tracked her expenses for 5 days. Let's take a look at Tracy's 5-day latte factor. Tracy, you like lattes, don't you? Tracy actually has a lot. She does drink lattes. $18 on lattes in 5 days. Okay, $10 for bottled water. $10 on snacks. $20 lunch with friend. Movie, $10. Daily parking. Is parking a latte factor? It can be, because sometimes you can walk a few blocks more. $50 on parking. $60 on hairstyling. Your hair looks great, by the way. All right, $65 on a pedicure. Can we see your toes? No, they're covered. All right, $55. I love the detail here. She says makeup with gifts. And $140 on a body scrub? You do look clean. All right, so we're having fun with Tracy. Tracy was honest. This is where she spent her money. In 5 days, she spent $430. So I just divided this by 5. That's an $86 a day latte factor. Now I want you to see what this adds up to. Tracy, are you ready? First of all, did this surprise you?
I was completely shocked because I never really added it up and looked at it, and it kind of changed the way I look at my friends, everybody.
Now, Tracy, you think you're shocked? Wait till you see what this adds up to. Can we get the security guard here, please, to bring in your latte factor? Here's what we've done. Tracy, I believe, based on the fact that you're spending $86 a day, I think you can save $10 a day. Would you agree?
Yes. Okay.
If Tracy saves $10 a day, you guys, and she does this for just 20 years.
Wow.
This, Tracy, could be yours. This is $230,000 cash. $230,000 cash. Now, when we're buying the stuff, we're not thinking about it. But when you see all this cash, I ran your numbers. I basically took $10 a day. I assumed you're going to pay yourself first into that retirement account. I'm going to teach you all how to do this later. But you would have $230,000. We ran a return of 10%. Now, I got to tell you something. When you see this cash here, it's kind of amazing, right? Yes. Right? Yes. Or you want to see something even bigger? Yes. Thank you very much. You can save more than this. right? Wouldn't you agree you can save more than $10 a day?
Yes.
All right, I want you to see this number. I think you can save $1,000 a month because you're making 6 figures. I've gone through your expenses to help you find the money. You could have in 30 years, if you saved $1,000 a month, now you're making good money and you're young. You could have $2,279,324.
Wow.
What do you think? Right? Off a latte factor. Now remember, the whole point of this was it's not about the lattes. Does everybody hear that? I'm going to jump up and down, all right? It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. So your first exercise before we go to a break is when you get home tonight, you're going to take this latte factor challenge and go find your money. Here's why this is so important. When we come back, I'm going to show you how to take $10 a day and pay all your debt off. I'm going to show you how to take $10 a day and add it to your savings account. I'm going to show you how the small amounts of money can make you rich. What you need to know is that it's a war for your money right now. It's a war. Everybody wants your money. I want you to keep your money. And when we come back, I'm going to show you how you take this latte factor and you build it into real wealth. Thank you so much. You've been great. Thank you. Wow, thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back. Well, we've just taken a look at how to find your latte factor, how to find your money. Now what I want to focus on is how do you take that money you found, your latte factor. Remember Tracy's latte factor? Take that money and use it to pay down your debt. Let's talk about your debt for a second. America is drowning in credit card debt. The average American family has over $10,000 in credit card debt. There's so much debt right now in this country that the New York Times just ran a feature story on it. It said, debt, America's scariest addiction, is getting even scarier. Have you been feeling this? It's been so easy to get these credit cards these days. Right now, when someone gets out of school, the average student, believe it or not, the average college graduate, they have over 3 credit cards. The average American family has 9 credit cards. Let's see a show of hands. How many of you have credit cards right now? Let me see if you have a credit card. All right, how many of you have 2? Keep your hands up. 3, 4, 5 credit cards, 6 credit cards, 7 credit cards, 8 credit cards, 9 credit cards, 10 credit cards. Who do we got winner? 11 credit cards, 12 credit cards, 13 credit cards. Sir, 13. You're our winner. You're our winner. What's your name? Joel. Joel. Now, we're all applauding you. First of all, thank you for your honesty, Joel. And here's the thing, 13 credit cards, a lot of credit cards, right? The challenge with having credit cards right now, folks, here's the truth. It's 2 things. One, yeah, debt's a problem. But the real problem is the interest rate. And it's also all the games that those credit card companies will play with you. And I'm going to go through those games here in a second so you can learn how to, 1, play the game better. Good. Because if you don't know how to play the credit card game, you're going to lose, all right? It's a war right now for your money. And I want to show you the war visually. One of the reasons we have so many credit cards is that we are getting bombarded with credit card offers. You all see this mail here? How many of you come home at the end of the day, you've had a tough day at work, you know, you get to your mail and you got 1 credit card, 2 credit card, 3 credit card, 4 credit card, right? And now everybody's telling you got to buy a shredder for these things because you can't just throw this stuff away or you'll get your identity stolen, right? But then a lot of us are opening up these credit card applications and applying for them. Now, I'll tell you 2 secrets. For some of you, there's actually money in this junk mail. They sent out 6 billion credit card applications this year, by the way. 6 billion. There's only 300 million of us in this country. So that's like 1 million applications per person for this audience. Not quite that high, but it feels like that, right? Yeah. So here's the thing. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at credit card applications, and let's look at what you need to know when you fill out a credit card application. I want to show you the tricks the credit card companies play so you can win. Now, when I say tricks, I don't mean they're really tricking you because it's all in the small print, but you need to know where the small print is. Does this make sense? So I've taken out a credit card offering. Now, again, we've whited out the credit card offer's name, so we're not picking on any one company. But this is a credit card offer that came in the mail to me. What do you notice here, by the way? What do you see? 0%. 0%, right? So it must be a good deal. So we blew it up here. I want to show something to you. 0% interest. What is that? That's 0% interest for life, right? 0% interest for life. You see that? Big orange, 0% interest for life. So it must mean that your credit card's 0%, right? Wrong. See this little star right here? Everybody notice the star? Very small, isn't it? Even with this blown up, look at the size of that star. It's smaller than my fingernail. Okay, on the actual application itself, you can't even barely see it. But that little star, we've all been taught to look at the bottom of the page to find out the details, right? Because that's where the secret to the star must be. So let's follow the star down to the details. You know what's interesting down here, folks? You know what it says? See important information, insert for details. So let me show you something. Again, this is all legal. Here's the application. Here's the details. Okay, now here's what you do. You fill this out. You don't really read it, right? You just see 0% for life. You fill it out, you mail it in, boom, credit card offer comes in. This, you just throw it away because look at that. Can you read this? Even if you wanted to read this, if you were over the age of 40, you got to have a magnifying glass. Plus, you have to almost be an attorney to read this. But this is where the facts are. Never throw this away. Let me show you the facts. Here's the facts. Important information. Important information. This is where the credit card companies get you, and they are getting you. You think it's a 0% rate? It is, till July 7th. July 2007. Then it's going to turn into an APR rate of 10.49%. But the key thing is, it's variable. So it's not even 10.49%, it's variable. And here's the real trick. If you're late, they have what's called the default rate. Do you see that? Do you see that default rate? This is what you need to be looking for on your credit card applications. The default rate says that if you're late one time, folks, so you do everything right. You go and you transfer your money. You get a 0% credit card offer. Maybe you go out of town. Your bill comes and you're late by an hour. That credit card company has the legal right to raise your rate from somewhere between 15% to 28.99%. Unbelievable, right? Some of you right now, you don't even know it, but that's how high your rate is on your cards. Again, I've been doing all these money makeover shows, and we go in and we meet with people. There are credit cards now that are charging you 31% interest. Now, if you have $10,000 in debt and you're paying this kind of interest, you'll never get out of debt. Now, there's other tricks in here. There's a balance transfer fee, 3%. Okay? Grace period, 25 days. That's actually a good thing for you to know. So if you're ever late, you know how many days you have to make it up. You need to know these things. Now, let's look at $10,000 in debt. Amazing, right? It's all black and white. Nobody's teaching us this in school, right? How would you know this stuff? Unless you've really got time who's reading it. Let's look at $10,000. If you have $10,000 in credit card debt right now, and you make minimum payments, remember I said the average American's got $10,000 in debt? They make minimum payments 37 years to be out of debt. Now, here's what the credit card companies have done. And again, it's all legal. They've ratcheted down the minimum payment so low that you could have $10,000 in credit card debt and only pay $200 a month. So it's no big deal. You're like, well, I can make my payments, I'm fine. Why don't I go get some more credit cards, which they send you because they're sending out 6 billion offers, right? Do you understand how this is going? Folks, you cannot make minimum payments. You'll spend $19,000 on interest. You'll spend the rest of your life paying it off. Remember that latte factor I was talking about? $10 a day can get you out of this debt in 4 years. Here's what I mean. You take your minimum payment in that last case, you add $10 a day to it. You're out of debt in 4 years. You just saved $14,747. This is how normal Americans, all of us hardworking Americans, this is how we get rich. We get rich by paying down our bad debt, our consumer credit card debt, and we use it then to put our money into good debt, like a mortgage to buy real estate. Or we use that money to pay ourselves first, automatically, which I'm going to teach you how to do. But if you've got debt, we've got to get out of this hole. Now, I just taught you the tricks these credit card companies are using. Now, let's go through them so you understand all of them. right? There are a lot of tricks. I call this the credit card game. This is how the credit card companies get you. You should be mad about this, but this is how they're getting you. One, this is shocking to me. They move the due date on you. So let's say you have a credit card that's due July 15th. Sometimes you'll get these little announcements in the mail saying, you know, important information closed, which looks like that other stuff that you just throw away. That might be the due date changing. Now you're late, now your rate goes up to 30%. Late fees, folks. $39 a month now on late fees. Can you believe that? No, come on, can you believe that? No. $39 in late fees. He's got 13 credit cards. Some people are getting hit with $200, $300 a month in late fees. It's ridiculous. 1/3 of the credit card companies' industries now are coming from late fees. Here's the ultimate trick that they're doing. They send you a credit card offer, and again, this is legal. Let's say it's for $500. You spend $503. Now you have an over-the-limit fee. $15, right? You've experienced this. And they give you a late fee on top of that. So now you got, let's say you're late, you get $39 in late fee, $15 in over-limit fee. You just paid $60 that month on a $500 credit card. That's 10% on $500 monthly. That's 120% in terms of cost a year annually. Guys, it's a ripoff, but it's legal. So it's a war. You have to fight back. Annual fees, $65 a month. $65 a year. Some of your credit cards are $100 a year. What can you do? What can you do? You want to know what you can do? Yes. You can fight back. Here's how you fight back. First of all, you know the facts. So go pull out your credit card statements and find out, what are you paying? 3 things. What's your interest rate? What's your annual fee? What's your late fee? If you can't tell by reading your statement, you call the credit card company up and you ask them, what's my APR right now? What are you charging me? Now, I want you to call them once you have additional facts. The facts I want you to know, what's the competition offering? So, you know, we pushed all that junk mail away, those 6 billion offers. Next 30 days, keep them. Make a little stack of them. Take the competitor's offer and say, hey, you know what, Mr. Visa? Mrs. MasterCard just offered me 0%. If I transfer my debt over, I can get 0%. What will you do for me? Some of you who are getting, financially hurt right now, where they're charging you 25% annual interest, just by saying I'm going to move my money, they'll lower the rate. I just worked with this couple again. I was talking about the Oprah Debt Diet series we've been doing. My couple who I'm working with, Dan and Sally, they had $75,000 in credit card debt. They had 12 credit cards. Now, in 6 months, we've taken them from 12 credit cards down to 3 credit cards, and we've gotten their $75,000 debt down to about 50. We were able to get almost every single card down from 30% to below 5% by making phone calls. And you want to know the truth? They were scared when they made those first few phone calls. They were stuttering, like, oh, hi, this is Dan. Could you help me? I'm like, Dan, they don't know who you are. There could be in India for all that it matters. They're just looking you up on a computer. Don't be scared. One card company, it took him 5 phone calls to get help. One company, it took him 8 phone calls. A couple said yes right away. If you get a no, ask to speak with a supervisor. That supervisor says no, just keep saying why. Why can't you help me? Why won't you work with me? Now, in some cases, you may be so far behind on paying your credit cards. How many of you know people who are behind on paying their credit cards? You know some people? Like me personally. Honestly, you just need to know something, because this is not advertised. If you are behind on paying your credit cards, there's what's now called a hardship program. A hardship program is for people who are going through a really challenging time and they need help. They need an opportunity to get out of debt. And the credit card industry has put these hardship programs in place because, first of all, they campaigned for years to change the bankruptcy laws. And the bankruptcy laws were changed at the end of last year. So, by the way, you can't just run up your credit cards anymore and run away from them and go bankrupt. It's not possible. So what the credit card companies have done is they've offered a hardship program, which all of you can basically apply for. You just simply have to ask. And they'll often take your rate down to 0%. And what they'll do is they'll move money automatically from your checking account right to the credit card company. And that's why they'll give you 0% for a period of time. Often it's 6 months to a year for you to get back on track. It's nice to know, right? There is a catch, right? There's always a catch. Some of these companies will send you paperwork. They'll say, no problem, we can do this for you. And what you're ending up signing is something that says that they can now report this to your credit bureau. You don't want it reported to your credit bureau because it will lower your credit score. So, again, it's negotiations. Say, look, I really want to go on this hardship program for 12 months or 6 months. See what they offer you. But please, I'd rather not have you guys report it to my credit bureau. Can you do that? Some companies will. Good stuff to know, right? Again, it's a game. Now I want to talk to you about the second biggest form of debt you have, your mortgage. How many of you have a home right now? Wow, almost everybody here. How many of you have a mortgage? 3 mortgages, right? All right. Here's a couple things you need to know about mortgages. 1, many of you have taken out the wrong mortgage in the last 3 years. The wrong mortgage. You've taken the wrong mortgage out. Business Week just talked about this. How toxic is your mortgage? Deceptive loans, phantom profits, and coming soon, a wave of defaults. I believe we're about to go into one of the biggest foreclosure markets we've ever seen in the history of our country. I think we're going to see millions of people lose their homes to foreclosure in the next 2 years, and here's why. They got an adjustable rate mortgage, or the most dangerous, an option arm. So if you have an option arm mortgage or an adjustable rate mortgage, you need to know the facts. This is right from the article, this is an option arm. Now, millions of people have taken out option arms, okay? There's $1 trillion in option arm mortgages. When you have an option arm mortgage, you get 4 choices on how to pay your mortgage. So this is a $500,000 mortgage. If you pay it on a 15-year mortgage schedule, $4,600. If you pay it on a 30-year mortgage schedule, $3,400. Interest only, $3,000. Minimum payment, $1,600. Guess which payment most people choose? $1,600, right? Because that allows you to buy a bigger home and spend less on your home, right? Seems logical. 80% are reportedly choosing the minimum payment. Here's the trick. These mortgages are becoming what's called negative amortization. A lot of people don't even know what that word means. What it means in layman's terms, you're going to owe more money. So here we have a person who's made minimum payments for 3 years, 29 months. On a $500,000 home, they owe an additional $50,000. They started with a $500,000 mortgage. Now they owe $550,000. And their payment now has just jumped to $4,107. So their payment has more than doubled. Now do you see how some people could be losing their homes to foreclosure? Because what's going to happen the next year or two, people are making those minimum payments. Unless they're saving money, they're not going to be able to afford this payment here. And then they're going to owe more money than the home is even worth. What can you do? 1, pull out your mortgage statements. When you get home today, pull your mortgage statement out and pull out your original loan documents. You want to ask 3 questions. 1, what's the rate? Because it's okay to have an adjustable rate mortgage as long as you understand. What's the rate? When does it adjust or reset? That means when is your mortgage coming due? And the last thing, could I have negative amortization? If you don't know the answer to these questions, you know you need to go find out. So pull this out. It will save you from losing your home. Important stuff. I'm not trying to scare you. I just really want to impress upon you, you need to know the facts. Now I want to give you one last tip that can save you tens of thousands of dollars on your current mortgage. For some of you, it'll save you over $100,000. It's going to take me 2 minutes to share it. You ready? This is how this is how simple this is. All of you who've got a mortgage payment, you're making mortgage payment. How many of you make a mortgage payment once a month? All right, almost basically everybody. If you make a mortgage payment once a month, then you're going to pay your mortgage off in 30 years. Don't do it that way. In the Automatic Millionaire book, I teach what is called the Automatic Millionaire bi-weekly approach. So you take your mortgage payment, you go back to your bank, and you say, I'm interested in a bi-weekly mortgage plan. Now here's an example. $300,000 mortgage. Your mortgage payment would be $1,995. That's a once-a-month payment. If you have your bank split it in half, and you pay $997 every 2 weeks, you will take a 30-year mortgage and you will pay it off in 23 years. That saves you 7 years on your mortgage. Cool, right? In that example, you save $106,000. He said it's amazing, isn't it? It is. It's amazing. Now, the banks didn't used to promote this because obviously they'd rather have you pay for 30 years. But the banks are starting to promote this for a couple of reasons. One, most of you are paid every 2 weeks, true? Let me see your hands, you're paid every 2 weeks. It's easier on your cash flow to pay the bank your mortgage when you're paid. So they're finding that there's safety in getting you to pay every 2 weeks. The other thing is they're finding that you'll stay a customer longer. So some of the banks now are offering this program for free. You can call your bank. You have to refinance. You just call your bank and you say, do you guys offer a bi-weekly payment plan? And with just a phone call in 5 minutes, they'll switch it. They'll calculate your numbers. They'll tell you how much money you can save. Most of you will save tens of thousands of dollars. Now, when I come back, we're going to look at how do you get rich in real estate? And how do you get rich by paying yourself first automatically? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Are you ready to finish rich? Yes? Yes. All right. I told you I would share with you the secret sauce, if you will, how to really finish rich and become an automatic millionaire, and I want to do that right now. Again, I spent 9 years working with real millionaires. So I know what real people who have worked real hard have done to become millionaires, and I want to teach that to you right now. There is a secret to getting rich in this country, and it's incredibly simple, but most people don't do it. The secret comes down to 3 words. Pay yourself first. How many of you have heard of this? Every hand should go up, right? Yeah, this is not a new idea. But here's the thing. Most of us have heard of it, but we don't know what it means. We don't know how much to pay ourselves first, and we don't really know where to put the money. So I want to talk to you about this first. When you pay yourself first, what that means is that the first person who gets a piece of your paycheck is you. But here's the truth. It's not happening. When you get a paycheck, who gets paid first? Uncle Sam, Sammy, you've heard of this person, yes. And when you earn $1, right now they get about 30 to 35 cents. True? True. Here's the secret. If you just understand this one thing, you'll understand everything about becoming an automatic millionaire. The government knows something about you that they don't want you to know. They probably don't even want me to tell you this. What they know is that you people can't budget. Now, they can't budget either, by the way, right? But I tell you that I tell you that they know you can't budget because of this. In 1943, the government changed the tax laws on us. We used to get all of our money. You used to get a paycheck and you got it all. And what happened was the government wasn't running well because you were all spending all your money. And tax time was coming back and you didn't have any money to write the check. So the government said, you know what, let's create technology that allows us to pull money from you automatically before you can spend it. And they've been doing it for 70 years. We're not even thinking about it anymore. We're so used to it happening. Now corporate America does it. Starting 20 years ago, the gyms were the first company to get into taking your money from you automatically. You go join a gym, and they'd say, can you just fill out this little form right here, and we'll pull money out of your checking account automatically to pay us. Now, why did they do that? Because what month of the year do 90% of people join a gym? January. What month of the year do 90% of people stop going to the gym? February. You know these people. Right, somebody said January. That's really negative. You know? But it's true. So they were the first ones to take your money automatically besides the government, and now everybody's doing it. The utility companies, the phone companies, you name it, Blockbuster Video, anybody that can take your money from you automatically will. You have to keep it automatically. What Jim and Sue McIntyre did, and they're the automatic millionaires featured in the Automatic Millionaire book, you can do too. They made their savings automatic. Everybody say that. Automatic. So here's what you do. I'm going to give you the formula. Ready? You want to save 1 hour a day of your income. 1 hour a day of your income. If you're working a 40-hour work week, you have to keep 1 hour a day of your income. Before the government gets paid, you get paid first. Now, the only way you can do this to make it work, it has to be automatic. No discipline, no budget. that means the money is moved from your paycheck or from your checking account right into a deductible retirement account. Now, the only way you can get paid first before the government, legally, keyword there was legal, is you have to use retirement accounts that are deductible. Not a Roth IRA, because it's not deductible. You have to use a 401k plan, an IRA account, or a self-employed retirement account. You want to write these numbers down. 401k plans this year, $15,000 you can put away. IRA accounts, $4,000. Self-employed retirement accounts, $44,000. If you start paying yourself first 1 hour a day of your income tomorrow for the rest of your life, you will build financial security. Those of you who are in here starting young, you'll be rich. Now, some of you are saying, but I'm starting late. What about me? What about me? I'm starting late. What about me? It's never too late for you, but you have to start. So when I talked about the latte factory, you need to be putting that $10 a day away, but you have to start. Does this make sense? Now, where do you put the money when you put it in those retirement accounts? 9 years at Morgan Stanley, managing hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's what I've seen. A very simple formula that can build you wealth safely, so you can get rich safely, and you can keep your money safe. Because what I learned when I was at Morgan Stanley working for real millionaires is once you work hard to make the money, you don't want to lose it. True? So the same approach that can help you build wealth, quite honestly, can help you keep wealth. This is how I manage my money. Draw yourself a little circle at home. I have my money invested 1/3 in stocks. That would be right here. 1/3 stocks, 1/3 in real estate, and I have it 1/3 in guaranteed investments. So my money personally is in 1/3 stocks, and it's diversified. I use index funds. It's 1/3 in guaranteed investments. That could be CDs, muni bonds, government bonds, and it's 1/3 in real estate. Now that could include your home, and that can also include rental properties or REITs, real estate equity investment trusts. Now there's something, this is what I call the perfect pie approach to wealth. I wrote a book called Start Late, Finish Rich. This was the follow-up book to the Automatic Millionaire. And in this book I put in here the perfect pie approach. Now here's the thing, and I said it in this book, I'm going to say it to you. When someone tells you they've got a perfect system for managing money, your brain should go, well, what's wrong with it? Right? Here's what's wrong with it. It's boring. This is about as boring of approach to managing money as you can have. Because it's the same game plan year after year after year. 1/3 stocks, 1/3 real estate, 1/3 guaranteed investments. But you know why I do it that way? Very simple. Some years real estate does well, right? We've just had a real estate market that boomed. But now real estate's starting to cool. Some years the stock market takes off, and then it cools. And then guaranteed investments, well, they sort of always work. So what happens is I'm balanced. Now people say, oh, balance is for, who wants to have balanced approach? I do. Because when I go to bed at night, the one thing I don't want to have to worry about, personally, is my money. How many of you want to worry about your money at night? Right? No hands are going up. So here's my goal for you. Have a boring approach to money and have an exciting life. Now, if your money is boring, you'll have an exciting life. If you manage your money in this approach, 1/3 real estate, 1/3 stocks, 1/3 guaranteed investments, you'll get to go off and have an exciting life. Does this make sense? Yes. All right, so now that we've learned how to pay ourselves first, I want to talk to you about real estate. Because here's the truth. The biggest thing that separates the rich in this country from the poor is real estate. How many of you have heard that real estate's the best investment you can put your money into? All right? Let me tell you first the first investment that you buy in real estate. It's a home. The best investment you will make in your lifetime will be the home you buy and live in. My book that came out this year is called The Automatic Millionaire Homeowner. And I'm teaching Americans how to buy their first home and use their home to build real wealth. Why do I believe so much in home ownership? I'll tell you why. As long as you're alive, you have to live somewhere. Right? How many of you have been living somewhere so far? Right? So as long as you're alive, you have to live somewhere. Now, you can either pay rent and make your landlord rich, or you can pay your mortgage, which we learned how to pay it off early, and make yourself rich. The difference between renters and homeowners when it comes to our net worth is huge. The average renter in America today has a net worth less than $5,000. The average homeowner is worth over $172,000. So you take a homeowner, you put them right next to a renter, they're worth 34 times more. How many of you, let me see, anybody here single? Show of hands if you're single. Put your hands up high so all of America can see you. All right. You know how sometimes when you're single, you might go to a bar or you get invited out with friends to meet somebody else who's single. And a lot of times the question you ask is, what do you do for a living? Right? Wrong question. Next time you just say, do you rent? That's so bad. I'm just kidding, but I don't want you to rent. I want you to buy a home. Now, here's the thing I learned from Jim and Sue McIntyre. I didn't know this, and I made a mistake, so I'm telling you. When Jim and Sue McIntyre bought their first home, this is how they became automatic millionaires. They bought their first home, they paid that mortgage down with that biweekly mortgage plan, so they got the debt down, homes started going up in value, they looked in the newspaper, and they saw they could rent their house for more than the mortgage payment. Wow, that's kind of cool. At that point, they had a decision to make. They wanted a bigger home. Let's sell the house and buy a bigger home. Sue said, no, let's rent the home, pull a little equity out and buy another house. And that's what they did. So they kept their first house, rented it, and then put the money in a second home. Then they lived in that second home and they paid that second home down. The renters paid off the first house, they paid off the second house, turn around at 52, they owned 2 homes free and clear. Now, they weren't aggressive in real estate. They only bought 2 properties. What I recommend is that you buy 3 over your lifetime. So you buy a house, you live in it, let it go up in value over time, pull equity out, buy another home, live in it, pull some equity out over time, buy a third home, live in it. Now you got 2 rental properties and you're living in your third home. How many of you think you could buy 3 homes over your lifetime, right? Now I've got good news for you. There's always going to be renters. Because people say to me, David, you do these TV shows, you write these books, you talk about this. Pretty soon there won't be renters anywhere, right? There'll always be renters. Always. And they'll always rent single-family homes and condominiums. It's just the truth. So I want you to own a couple of these properties. I was doing a book signing in Times Square when the homeowner book came out. And there's a television crew there from another TV show. And this kid comes up to me and he goes, oh my God, David Bach. You're David Bach. I go, yeah, I know. He goes, no, you don't understand. He's like, I saw you on that show and you were talking about buying a home and renting it, living in it, renting it, doing it again. He goes, I did that. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, I bought a place in Hoboken, which is right outside New York City, lived in it for a year, pulled some equity out, rented it, bought another place in Manhattan, because I wanted to live in Manhattan, lived in it, went up, rented it, and now I'm in my 3rd property. I said, you're kidding me. He goes, no. I go, how long did this take? He goes, well, your book just came out 2 years ago. I did it all in 2 years. I go, that's unbelievable. He goes, no, you don't understand. The best part? He said, I work for a nonprofit and I make less than $50,000 a year. In Manhattan, he did this. Now, if he can do it in Manhattan, you can do it almost anywhere in this country. True? True. So you start with your first home and then you move to your second property. Now, I do want to show you one trick about real estate that makes homeownership so powerful. If you don't do this, you can buy a property, and if you're single, this is one of the reasons that real estate goes so well. You buy a home and you're single, you can make up to $250,000 tax-free profit. So you buy a home for, let's say, $300,000 and you sell it for over $500,000, you're single, you get to keep $250,000 tax-free. If you're married, you get to keep $500,000 tax-free. This is why real estate makes people rich. Now, this used to be a one-time opportunity with the government. It's not anymore. Many people don't realize this. You can do this every 2 years. You just have to live in the property for 2 out of 5 years, and you can do this. Now, when you start to buy investment properties, here's how rich people get really rich. They start buying investment properties, and when it goes up in value, they do a 1031 exchange. And they roll their profits into another piece of real estate. This is power. When you want to know how rich people get rich, after a couple homes, they start to buy investment properties, and they never pay taxes. They defer their taxes forever, in many cases, if they do the right estate plan. So that's what you want to be looking at. Here's one thing I want you to know. It's not too late for you to do this. It's not too late for you to do this. How many of you have become convinced that home ownership makes sense? Right, all right, all of you, good. Let me give you 6 benefits of home ownership that aren't always talked about. Number 1, when you buy a home, it's forced savings. See, the reason home ownership works is it forces us to grow up, right? How many of you, when you bought your first home, found that you were growing up? You had to. It was like official. You owed somebody a lot of money. When you buy a home, you get leverage. This is really how the rich get rich. See, if you go buy a $300,000 home, you're not going to put $300,000 down. You might put $30,000 down. And you're borrowing $270,000, which means you're getting OPM, other people's money. Let's hear you say that. Other people's money. Yeah, now the bank's going to give you that money, and then the government is going to give you a tax break. See, the truth is about real estate, there's a reason real estate has been the best investment for almost all Americans, and that is because the government subsidized it. The government has subsidized your home purchase because they're giving you a tax deduction on your mortgage. And that's also why long-term real estate is going to continue to do, in my opinion, extraordinarily well. Real estate has had an annualized return of over 6% a year for over 100 years. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but remember, it was leveraged, right? It's not the same as stocks. You have pride of ownership, and again, real estate has proven to be a great investment. Let me show you the price of an average home over the last 20 years. This is amazing to me. The average home in America back in 1963, about $18,000. How many of you drove here in a car that cost more than that, right? Today, the average home in America is over $226,000. You know, my Nana, she bought her home for about $14,000, and when she sold it for a little over $400,000. She said, God, I wish I had bought 3, right? You know, so home ownership simply works. And right now, as we're hearing about the real estate market correct in certain areas, let me just say this to you. Real estate is not national, all right? The media will talk about it nationally, but it's not national. It's local. The only real estate that really matters, let's be selfish for a second, it's the one you own, right? So what you need to worry about is the home you own, the street you live on, the condominium that you're in. Worry about the real estate that you have. Don't worry so much about all the stuff that they're talking about nationally. And with that also being said, I'll tell you the truth. There will be people who will lose their homes in the next 2 to 3 years. There will be foreclosures. And you, with some education, which we've been giving you today, you might have the opportunity to invest in some of those properties and really get rich. Does this make sense? Yes or yes? Yes. All right. So with that, I want to end by telling you a story. And it's a true story. Start Late, Finish Rich was the follow-up book that I wrote to The Automatic Millionaire. I didn't plan to write this book. What happened was I was going around the country and people were stopping me and saying, David, you know what? It's too late for me. I love your ideas. I love the idea about paying yourself first. I love the idea about buying real estate, but it's too late. And I could see it in people's eyes, even some of your eyes. I can see it in where you think, well, I wish I had started sooner. This is great in theory, but it won't work for me. How many of you wish you had started sooner? All right? It's okay. You're honest. That's what we found when we did polls, that most people wish they had started sooner. And a woman named Harriet said to me, David, I need your help. And her story is in the beginning of this book. She said, I'm 52. I was divorced at 50. I had 2 children. My husband left me with nothing. In fact, I have credit card debt now. And I'm starting over. I just got a job, and I just got remarried to a much better guy. But he's broke too, you know? He also went through a divorce. And she said, I want to be serious about this. So a year ago, I went and I got a financial plan done because I know that that's supposed to be a good idea. And she said, I went and got that plan done, and it cost $500, and the plan was about, 2 inches thick. It had like 40 pages. I said, well, that's great. You got your plan going. That's good, Harriet. She says, well, it's not good. I said, why is it not good? She said, because the plan, the financial planner, told me I have to save $2,700 a month if I want to retire. She said, what do you think about that? I said, well, how much money do you make? She said, I make $3,500 a month. I said, that sounds like a brutal plan, right? If you're making $3,500 a month and a financial planner is telling you you need to save $2,700 a month, how are you supposed to eat? I said, so what'd you do? She said, I didn't do anything. I was so mad. And the planner literally said to me, it's not my fault. I didn't do this to you. This is what you have to do. And she's like, I did nothing. I took the plan home, put that on my desk, and I did nothing. And now here I am a year later. What do I do? And I said, Harriet, you can save $10 a day, right? We found your latte factory, you're 52, you can save $10 a day, right? She said, yes. I said, you just got married. Your husband can save $10 a day, right? Can you get him to do this? She said, yeah, he listens to me. This one listens. I said, okay, great. Then that's $20 a day. So that means if you start paying yourself first, using those deductible retirement accounts, your 401k plan at work, you each save $10 a day. By the time you reach retirement, even if you don't get a good rate of return, you'll have $250,000 in savings. If you get a decent rate of return, like 8, 9, 10%, you'll have closer to $500,000. Right? That's pretty good, right? $500,000? Considering she was doing nothing. And she looked at me, she looked down at her feet, she looked up, her eyes were kind of watery, and she said, why didn't the financial planner just tell me that? Why did he give me this 40-page plan and make it seem so hopeless? And I said, I don't know. And then she said, why didn't they teach this in school? God, I would have started so much sooner. And they should have. They should have taught all of you the stuff that I've talked about today in school. If they did, we'd all be in better shape financially. But they didn't. And I said to Harriet, it's over. What didn't go right is done. What matters now is what you do. And it's the same thing for you. What matters now is what you do. So I said, here's the truth. It's never too late for you, Harriet. You just have to start. You can start late and finish rich. And you can too. You just have to start. Will you go home and start? Yes? Go make it happen. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience. Thank you. Thank you.
This program is made possible in part by Doral Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, proud supporters of this PBS special. Doral Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, where entrepreneurial spirit is supported every day.